It is the direct face-off between Arvind Kejriwal and BJP President Nitin Gadkari. At 5 p.m., Arvind Kejriwal has threatened to reveal proof indicting Nitin Gadkari in the 72,000 crore rupees irrigation scam in Maharashtra. Kejriwal is bolstering his charges on the claim of IAC activist Anjali DamAnia. Have a look at the three main charges so far against Nitin Gadkari. He is accused of lobbying for aid and Rajya Sabha MP Ajit Pawar in irrigation contracts. He is also accused of favouring a company linked to his son in the infrastructure projects allotted when he was the PWD minister in Maharashtra in 1995. Gadkari has also been accused by Anjali DamAnia of trying to scuttle the probe into the irrigation scam in Maharashtra, allegedly due to his close business links with NCP chief Sharad Pawar. All right, let's cut across to Javed Ansari and Rahul Shivshankar, our executive editor, who is in the studio with us. Javed, at this point of time, one can also make out from the stone cold silence coming in from the BJP, where reactions to, say, the Law Minister Salman Khurshid is concerned. They are pretty much extremely worried on what's going to take place at 5 p.m.
Well, indeed, and they are concerned that these charges, once they are laid at the BJP president's door, could very well blunt the edge, take off the edge of the BJP's fight against corruption. So far, the BJP has positioned itself as the principal party that wants to be seen as crusading against the corruption of the Congress party. Now, if similar charges are laid at the door and at none else than the national president of the Bharatiya Janata Party, then it will not just be extremely embarrassing, but it will also compromise in several ways their attempt to position themselves as the main crusaders against corruption. They've been very wary of Arvind Kejriwal from the very moment that he decided to launch another party, because earlier they felt that all this momentum that was being built up, the BJP would be the sole beneficiary. Now they fear that he's carved a niche for himself, that he's donned the mantle of the crusader, and therefore for BJP they have more reasons than one to fear and be wary of what Arvind Kejriwal is going to reveal in a couple of minutes from now.
You know, Javed, hold on to that thought. We're also going to go to our executive editor Rahul Shivshankar, but first up, uninterrupted coverage in the run-up to Kejriwal's big expose. Well, that's at 5 p.m. All hours on that. Our correspondents getting us the very latest. And here's your chance as well to get involved and have your say. Will the BJP practice what it preaches and demand a probe into Gadkari if Kejriwal comes up with clinching evidence? Our phone lines are open for our callers. Call us on the numbers flashing on your television screens and join this debate. Have your say. Use this as a platform. Meanwhile, let's cut across to our executive editor Rahul Shivshankar in the studio with us. Rahul, the BJP, not just problems coming in from Arvind Kejriwal, but right within. Ram Jethmalani saying he would draw the side with Arvind Kejriwal if the proof is clinching.
Yes, it's very, very interesting. And I would just take off from where Javed has left off. The fact of the matter is here, Preeti, you have a situation where the Bharatiya Janata Party is positioning itself as an anti-corruption party. A party that is fighting furiously to discredit the Congress at the center. But you have a situation where the party's president, in fact, now finds itself in the crosshairs of anti-corruption crusaders, such as the IAC. Now, the thing to really look out for over the next 1 hour or so is what sort of evidence will be produced by Arvind Kejriwal and his team. Will it be a paraphrasing and a reiteration of all that they've already produced to suggest that Gadkari tried to stymie their efforts to try and expose the great dam scam in Maharashtra? Will it be something to do with his tenure perhaps in office in Maharashtra when he served as a PWD minister in the mid-1990s? Or could it be something entirely different? Something to do with his direct involvement with Ajit Pawar, his close aide, who has also come under the scanner in various different other scams, including the Colgate scam. So there's a lot, in fact, of suspense at this moment about just what the Kejriwal camp is going to come out with. But there are certain things that the Bharatiya Janata Party will have to keep in the back of its head. And one of them is, how far can they back Mr. Gadkari? And what real line of defense are they going to take? Because whenever Arvind Kejriwal has come out against the Congress party, against Vadra, against others like Salman Khurshid, or even those accused in the Colgate scam who are in government, or even pointing fingers at almost 8 or 9 union ministers who were there in government, the Bharatiya Janata Party has been a willing accomplice in those attacks that have been directed against the government. Therefore, today, when Kejriwal comes forth and puts out evidence, if he puts out clinching evidence, or at least evidence that amounts to suggest that Mr. Gadkari has had some role in undermining the law in this country, are they going to come out therefore and say, okay, we've extended the principle to the Congress party, now we are willing to extend that principle to ourselves? Because that really is going to be the litmus test for the Bharatiya Janata Party, and we'll have to see whether the Bharatiya Janata Party is now determined to walk the talk and position itself as a party with a difference. You made reference to what Ram Jethmalani has said. We have to bear in mind, and this is something that Javed in fact will bear me out on. We have to remember that in the past we have seen the last tranche, if you like, of insinuations made against Mr. Gadkari were made in the run-up to that big executive meet in Surajkund. That's when the party was meeting to decide to extend the term for Mr. Gadkari. Now, a similar set of accusations could well be made, perhaps corroborated by proof and evidence, maybe in the form of documents or even other recordings. We don't and we can't hazard a guess at this moment. But the fact is that if that were to happen, what would happen to Mr. Gadkari's candidature? Maybe Javed, if you can come in here and elaborate on that, because it becomes increasingly difficult for the Bharatiya Janata Party, therefore, to work under someone who is tainted when it is trying to win an election, a genuine election, and perhaps the other local elections that are going to come up, as well as the state elections that are going to come up in the next 1 year or so on the plank of graft.
Well, indeed, Rahul, you're bang on. It will blunt the BJP's edge against, in this fight against corruption, and it's going to severely compromise their image. And that too, when they have to fight the elections under the leadership of a president who many believe is tainted after Mr. Kejriwal has had to say what he will in about 15-20 minutes from now. And this will work to the advantage of all the other aspirants, notably Mr. Narendra Modi. Mr. Narendra Modi is the front runner as far as BJP is concerned for the 2014 election. He will in most likelihood be the face of the BJP. Mr. Gadkari, along with several others, were being considered amongst those who could possibly pose a challenge. But now that Mr. Gadkari will have such a serious allegation leveled against him, he will be fighting fighting like Mr. Manmohan Singh, fighting for his political survival, rather than be able to mount a challenge to others, and especially to Mr. Narendra Modi within the party. So the BJP likely to suffer on two accounts. One, that its image is likely to take a beating, and that its president will be tainted. They'll be on the defensive rather than front-footing this. And the other, that it will take, this fight against corruption is now is being spearheaded not just by the BJP, but by a new political entity in the form of Mr. Arvind Kejriwal.
Stay on with us, Javed, because in the next 15 minutes we would know the proof that Arvind Kejriwal has and how damning it would prove to be for Nitin Gadkari. We already have a caller who's joining us live at this juncture. Yogesh joins us from Pune. Yogesh, do you reckon BJP will be able to walk the talk? It's trial by fire for the party today.
Hello.
Yogesh, go ahead, air your views.
Hello, I can hear you properly. Hello.
All right, we seem to be having an audio problem with Yogesh there, who's joined us. But let's cut across another caller joining us at this point of time. Rajesh joins us from Mysore at this point of time. Rajesh, go ahead, air your views.
Yeah, ma'am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, ma'am. I think Arvind Kejriwal is the next Bhagat Singh of India. And these brave politicians, compare it with Gadkari or Khurshid, वो लोग और अभी कितना पैसा खाएंगे, पैसा खा के मरेंगे.
Right.
Just listen. Apna Prime Minister, so we say him as a Gandu.
Right, Rajesh. We're going to take our callers at this point of time. Let's cut across. Atish Srivastav is with us. He's at the BJP headquarters, getting us reactions there. Atish, all eyes as much on the BJP as they are on Arvind Kejriwal. It's trial by fire where the party is concerned. All along, when Robert Kejriwal's expose happened, where Arvind Kejriwal came out and said all those things, BJP was hammer and tongs. Will they walk the talk? Is there a strategy in place where the BJP is concerned?
Well, there is a strategy in place, but there is a lot of anxiety amongst each and every BJP leader. We tried to most of the leaders and they said we need to wait till 5 o'clock. But this is a very, very important day for Nitin Gadkari. Because if Arvind Kejriwal has enough proof to nail Nitin Gadkari, then his second term will become very tough. We all know for sure that there are senior leaders, L.K. Advani, Sushma Swaraj and Murli Manoj Joshi, who have reservations as far as the extension of Nitin Gadkari's term is concerned. And his supporters are probably only Jaitley and Rajnath at this moment. So it is very, very important. If there is any proof against him, then his supporters like Rajnath and Arun Jaitley can also move out of him, because they know for sure that the entire momentum which the party has gained as far as the fight against corruption is concerned, they lose out on that momentum.
You know, let's bring in executive editor at this point of time, Rahul Shankar, who's in the studio with us. Rahul, all eyes right on the BJP. There are state elections there. There's a general election that we are looking at. It's very important how the BJP deals with this. It will pretty much set the precedent how these elections would be fought.
That's right. In fact, Preeti, let's just once again bring our attention to what really the camp of Kejriwal needs to prove. In fact, we put together a nice graphics for our viewers as to the charges that have been made by whistleblower. They're on your screens. The charge is that Gadkari has tried to influence some of these ISC members, including one particular ISC member, into trying and watering down the charges against those in power, specifically Sharad Pawar's NCP. The fact of the matter is that today Kejriwal and his team will be under pressure to substantiate those charges. This is as much of a test for the Bharatiya Janata Party as it is for Mr. Kejriwal, because if Mr. Kejriwal comes around and once again rides high on rhetoric, many people will say that he is only playing to the galleries, that he is rabble-rouser who one must begin to sort of look away from and not pounce on every word he says to arrive at a judgment against the political class. So you have a situation where both sides are pretty much on test. Kejriwal has come out and staked his reputation, and if indeed he lives up to his promises, he does come out and bring out the proof to substantiate the charges. As you've just mentioned, as Atish and as Javed have mentioned, the Bharatiya Janata Party will have a very, very difficult choice. On the back of that, as Atish was saying, if there is enough to suggest that Mr. Gadkari might in fact be compromised, then the second phase of the game will begin in the Bharatiya Janata Party, which is to pick a new leader. And that may not be very easy. You referred to Ram Jethmalani. Ram Jethmalani today coming out and saying that the next prime ministerial candidate for the Bharatiya Janata Party should be Narendra Modi. There are several within the Bharatiya Janata Party who are very wary of endorsing Mr. Narendra Modi's claims because they feel that it will have a negative electoral post-poll fallout if he were to be at the helm of affairs guiding this party through the next general elections. On the other hand, there are several others who are in favor of Mr. Modi and against some of the other who are contending for that post. There are 4 or 5 leaders who have already positioned themselves to try and lead the charge into the opposition camp as the leaders of the prime ministerial faces of the Bharatiya Janata Party. So, as a stopgap, Mr. Gadkari was very, very effective. If he was to be removed from the equation, the Bharatiya Janata Party will be faced with very, very many difficult internal contradictions which could even undermine its own race in the run-up to the general elections. So there are many, many imponderables as well as important implications that the Bharatiya Janata Party will have to joust with and joust against as and when Kejriwal comes out and establishes a case against Mr. Nitin Gadkari. Preeti.
Well, another 15 minutes, all eyes on that press conference. 5 p.m. is the time when Kejriwal is expected to come out with his expose on Nitin Gadkari and maybe some leaders from the NCP. our correspondents getting us the very latest, but you, as a viewer, can also have your chance to get involved and have your say and use this as a platform today. Will the BJP practice what it preaches and demand a probe into Nitin Gadkari if Kejriwal comes up with clinching evidence? Our phone lines are open. Do call us. We are flashing our telephone number. Take this opportunity, pick up the phone and call us. We already have our next caller. Atul joins us from Indore. Atul, go ahead. Atul, can you hear me? All right, we seem to have lost our phone connection with Atul, but let's cut across back to Atish Srivastav, who's getting us the very latest there. Atish, 15 minutes, we would know how damning the proofs are where Nitin Gadkari is concerned, but taking off from what Rahul was saying right now, clearly the split within the BJP is there. Do you think this press conference at 5 p.m. is only going to bring out the divide even more?
Even before the press conference, the divide has come out in open, because Ajit Pawar has clearly said that he will not be there if there is clinching evidence against Nitin Gadkari. He will probably be sitting with Kejriwal. He will probably be siding with Kejriwal. And he's also written the letter that enough has not been done by senior party leaders as far as corruption is concerned, as far as black money is concerned. And if your own head is involved in corrupt practices, if your own head has some financial mismanagement done, then obviously everyone realizes for sure that the entire momentum will lose. They will have to face public. What happens then? It is another thing which is clear is the leadership issue is still not sorted out in the party. Sangh will have to intervene if there is clinching evidence, and Gadkari, there is glaring evidence not only against Gadkari but also his family member. That is what we got to know. Then there will be a very tough time for BJP, because you have Gujarat Chief Minister Narendra Modi coming out as a strong contender that he wants to be in center before 2014. He wants to take control of the central politics. And you have Nitin Gadkari who has made it very clear that he wants second term, and he has also got the constitution passed. So there will be definite clash. The leadership issue has to be sorted out pretty fast. If at all the clinching evidence, if there is no clinching evidence, then Gadkari will probably feel that he will have his way.
All of that will be known in less than half an hour, Atish, and we are going to keep coming back to you on that. We've of course thrown open this platform to our viewers. We have a caller right now. Satish joins us from Mangalore. Satish, do you not reckon this is the litmus test where the BJP is concerned, vociferous in criticizing the Congress of late, spotlight on them now? Satish, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Go ahead, air your views.
Yeah, this you see, BJP always preached others, and they always, projected themselves as holier than others, holier than thou kind of attitude. But we have all seen at local, state level, or even the central leadership, they are as corrupt as Congress. I think people like Kejriwal are the only answer to the problems of corruption. I hope Kejriwal exposes Gadkari's true colors, and country knows what is what, and really people will support Kejriwal in this. Thank you.
All right, thank you for joining us, Satish. Let's also cut across to our political editor, Javed Ansari, who's stationed at this all-important press conference, 5 p.m. We go live to Arvind Kejriwal. Javed, other than the BJP, of course, which is extremely nervous, Arvind Kejriwal on the other side, another camp which would be watching the developments very closely would be the Congress, because how the BJP reacts to this could either undermine or reinstate the Congress's stand on how they have reacted to their set of exposés.
Yes, Congress is certainly would be keeping a very interested eye, their eyes and ears open as far as this press conference is concerned, because so far it was just the Congress party, the UPA, which was at the receiving end of these corruption charges, the receiving end of the almost daily barrage of charges and accusations that were hurled against them by Team Anna and by Mr. Kejriwal. Now the boot is on the other foot. Now it's the BJP, and so the Congress will watch very intently with the kind of charges that are made, the allegations that are leveled, and this will reinforce the Congress's claim, or they can then turn around and seek some kind of solace, turn around and say that we've always maintained that the BJP had double standards when it came to on the question of corruption, when it came to their own, and now look here, their very own president is involved. This, of course, is all. Everything depends on what Mr. Arvind Kejriwal comes up and what is the exact charges that he brings up against Mr. Nitin Gadkari and the kind of evidence that he produces.
And how the
So far,
BJP
we only have
reacts to it as
allegations.
well. We're going to keep coming back to you, gentlemen, because the man who holds all the answers today is Arvind Kejriwal and the woman who supplied him with the evidence. Let's get you reactions of Anjali DamAnia, the IIC activist. She spoke to Headlines Today a short while back. We'll also play you the reactions coming in from the BJP. Well, that is before this expose there. Let's play that for you.
जी गडकरी जी का नाम 2 बार आया था। पहली बार वो जब अरविंद जी ने उनके घर पर एक बार जब ढाबा बोला था तब, और क्योंकि उन्होंने कोलगेट में भी कहीं ना कहीं उनका हाथ है, और इरिगेशन स्कैम में जैसे मैंने कहा था ये तो मेरे साथ हकीकत में हुआ है, तो उन्होंने क्लियरली कहा था कि मैं इरिगेशन स्कैम में कुछ नहीं कर सकता। तो ये क्यों हो रहा है? जब वो ऑपोजिशन पार्टी के प्रेसिडेंट है तो उनका काम है, उनका फर्ज बनता है कि वो एक्सपोज करे इस प्रकार के स्कैम्स को, और वो क्यों नहीं करना चाहते, यही हम आज आगे लाना चाहते हैं।
हमारा पूरा का पूरा जीवन जो है वो पारदर्शी है। हमको कुछ छिपाने की आवश्यकता नहीं है। हमने किसी भी सरकारी निकाय से कोई दबाव में कोई नाजायज लाभ उठाया है, और हम लोग किसी भी जांच के लिए तैयार हैं। और अगर अरविंद केजरीवाल जी कुछ आरोप लगाते हैं तो हम हर आरोप का सटीक उत्तर देंगे। और हम लोग जैसे दामाद जी मैदान छोड़ के भाग गए और टीवी कैमरों के सामने नजर नहीं आते, हम हर आरोप का समुचित उत्तर देंगे।
All right, so the BJP saying there that they are going to stand by and defend all charges that are leveled today. But as much as it is a litmus test for the BJP, it is trial by fire for the man of the hour, Arvind Kejriwal. He needs to come up with the credible information, credible charges backed by documents there, because online right now is his credibility in question. Let's bring in our executive editor, Rahul Shivshakar, in the studio with us. Rahul, when Arvind Kejriwal made that massive expose about Robert Vadra, the world watched. Of course, there were an uproar following that. Today, Arvind Kejriwal needs to come up with credible evidence for him to be taken seriously from here on.
That's right. There are many people who've faulted Mr. Kejriwal for what they describe are his shoot and scoot tactics. You come in, you train your guns, you open fire indiscriminately, and you flee the scene, leaving not just the public, but also the political party that has been targeted, mystified and bewildered and a bit confused and dazed. The fact of the matter is, as of now, Arvind Kejriwal, who has exposed, as he would claim, Robert Vadra, has not been able to unearth the smoking gun that links him conclusively to a sin of commission as far as the DLF deal is concerned, and therefore the Congress party feels emboldened enough to come out and dismiss Mr. Kejriwal as a rabble-rouser. The Bharatiya Janata Party, of course, saw political opportunity in that, invested Mr. Kejriwal with some amount of credibility. Today, the situation is that the Bharatiya Janata Party would try and discredit Kejriwal's attack, because Kejriwal is positioning himself as an alternative, a credible alternative to both the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Congress. It is in his interest, therefore, Preeti, to come out with something that sticks. Fact-based investigation, proof that points indisputably towards culpability of Mr. Gadkari or whoever else he is intending to expose. Because if he fails to do that, people will come out and ask questions of Mr. Kejriwal and say, how are you therefore different from any other politician who comes out and makes unsubstantiated allegations to vitiate the political atmosphere, to sow the seeds of confusion, doubt, as well as, of course, most importantly, grandstand for political gain. Remember, this is a political fight. Kejriwal is no longer just an anti-corruption activist, and therefore those that describe him as such might be taking a very simplistic view of the positions that he is actually coming out and espousing. He is a political player in for or ahead of the 2014 general elections. He's going to be floating, or he's floated a political party. He's going to be organizing himself as a credible alternative, and therefore he needs to win the trust over of the electorate, the people, and position himself as someone who they can actually count on to have their voices heard, have their interests taken up in the right fora, which at the moment they don't have faith in the national parties as far as the public is concerned. So this is not just Arvind Kejriwal coming out and training his guns on the Bharatiya Janata Party, but this is also very much about how Arvind Kejriwal invests his own movement with some amount of credibility, Preeti.